These days, it's not just brave soldiers and cannons that shape the battlefield, it's MQ-9 Reaper drones and F-22 Raptor jets that rewrite the rules of war. As tech keeps leveling up, so do the tools we use to fight. But just because we've gone high-tech doesn't mean ancient weapons lost their bite. In fact, some of them were downright brutal. And in this video, we're diving into the most abandoned, most fascinating ancient weapons that still leave a mark on history. Let's start off with number 15, the Aztec macuahuitl. The macuahuitl looks almost ceremonial until you realize it could slice through bone and armor with terrifying ease. Crafted from dense oak and embedded with razor-sharp obsidian shards, this Mesoamerican weapon turned volcanic glass into a surgical tool of war. While it lacked the stab of a European rapier, it delivered devastating slashes, capable of taking limbs or even heads clean off. Some accounts claim a single blow could decapitate a horse. Now that wasn't hyperbole, it was brutal efficiency. Although the design likely predates the Aztecs, they perfected it, integrating it into both combat and ritual. Its eerie silhouette, often adorned with symbolic carvings or skull-like etchings, gave it a haunting presence. Even Christopher Columbus was so impressed that he had examples shipped to Spain. Tragically, no original specimens survived the centuries, leaving only drawings and recreated models. Still, the weapon's legend remains vivid, a clear reminder that elegance and lethality often come in the same package, especially when obsidian is involved. Number 14. Tekko. The tekko wasn't built for spectacle. It was built to turn a punch into a problem. This compact weapon, rooted in Okinawan kobudo, evolved from simple tools like stirrups, horseshoes, and even fishing gear. In a time when Okinawa's ruling class banned weapons, commoners adapted what they had into tools of self-defense. The tekko added weight to the hand, increasing striking force while allowing a natural grip. Whether forged from iron or carved from hardwood, its design offered more than just a fence. It could block, trap, or deflect attacks in close combat. Unlike brass knuckles, the tekko's curved design followed the contours of the fingers, blending protection with impact. The weapon took different forms, often based on regional variations or available materials. Over time, it became part of structured training in kobudo, but always maintained its raw, street-born practicality. Today, it remains a niche discipline, taught to dedicated martial artists who respect its balance of tradition and raw, bone-cracking purpose. Number 13. Man-catcher. The man-catcher wasn't a weapon for killing, it was built to subdue. Its origin lies in medieval Europe, where heavily armored knights were often captured rather than slain. This pole arm had a spring-loaded, two-pronged head shaped to grip around an opponent's body, typically the neck or torso, and drag them from horseback or restrain them on the ground. It was a calculated tool, meant to immobilize without spilling blood. Though brutal in appearance, its purpose was control, not carnage. Over time, the concept faded from warfare, but the idea never really disappeared. In Japan, its descendant, the seizomata, is used by modern riot police to detain individuals while keeping a safe distance. Similar variations are employed in train stations and airports across Asia to restrain aggressors without direct contact. Even during the COVID-19 lockdowns in India and Nepal, modified man-catchers helped enforce social distancing. From armored battlegrounds to public safety enforcement, this tool evolved without ever losing its core function, containment through precision. Imagine getting caught on this one. Well, that is painful. Number 12. Kapinga. The kapinga doesn't look like any ordinary throwing knife, and that's the whole point. This weapon, native to Central Africa and closely linked to the Azande people, was crafted to confuse as much as it was to kill. Its jagged, curved shape falls somewhere between a dagger and a multi-pointed shuriken. Meant to be thrown overhand or sidearm, it could spin through the air and cause brutal damage on impact. While exact origins remain unclear, like other ancient finds, the Azande were known for their combat mastery and tactical innovations, making them the likely source. The blade's curves and spacing weren't random. They were engineered for precision. Some could travel up to 120 feet and hit with enough force to incapacitate or even kill. Retrieving it afterward might have been a hassle, but that was a small price for the surprise factor it offered. It wasn't just a tool, it was psychological warfare in motion. Rare, deadly, and totally unconventional, the kapinga remains one of Africa's most fascinating battlefield innovations. Number 11. Madu. The madu, also known as maduvu, isn't something you'd expect to see in a warrior's hand until you realize what it's capable of. Originally crafted from the horns of the Indian blackbuck, the weapon came from Tamil Nadu and held deep ties to the martial art of silambam. Two horns pointed in opposite directions, joined by crossbars that doubled as handles and handguards. As combat evolved, so did the madu. It was later reinforced with steel, making it more durable while retaining its agility. But this wasn't just a tool for fighting, it was also a performance weapon, mimicking movements of tigers, eagles, and frogs. This allowed practitioners to blend martial skill with rhythm, turning fights into fluid expressions of control and power. The goal wasn't just to strike, it was to outmaneuver and eventually disarm the opponent with grace. That balance of technique, tradition, and theatricality still lives on today in ceremonial demonstrations, keeping the madu rooted in history while remaining alive in practice. Number 10. The rhomphaia. The rhomphaia wasn't just a blade, it was a formidable weapon. Wielded by the Thracians around 350 to 400 BCE, this single-edged weapon stretched roughly 24 to 31 inches long. Built for both slashing and stabbing, its design wasn't just elegant, it was brutally efficient. The tang alone measured about 20 inches, offering a balanced grip and serious control in the hands of a trained warrior. What truly elevates the rhomphaea's legacy, though, is what it forced Rome to do. After clashing with this weapon in Dia, Roman forces were rattled, so much so that they redesigned their helmets with reinforcing bars to withstand its cutting power. That reaction? It's the only recorded case of Roman armor being redesigned directly because of a single enemy weapon. Alongside its cousin, the falcata, the rhomphaia left an impression quite. It wasn't just steel clashing on the battlefield, it was an arms race, and this thing made sure it didn't go unnoticed. Number 9. Huan Dao. The Huan Dao, often referred to as the nine-ring broadsword, stands out in both look and lore. It's not just a blade, it's a symbol. Originating from Chinese martial traditions, this weapon featured 9 distinct metal rings fixed to the spine of the blade. They weren't decorative, the jingling metal served multiple functions from psychological warfare to strategic disruption. The rattling could rattle the enemy, masking movement, or creating a distraction during combat. Some martial artists also believe the rings were meant to deflect strikes or catch opposing weapons, though opinions differ. What's clear is its spiritual and cultural role. In Chinese symbolism, the 9 rings often represented harmony, longevity, and the emperor's power. The sword itself wasn't a mass battlefield item. It required craftsmanship and balance, often reserved for martial arts masters or ceremonial use. Today you'll find the Huan Dao more in training halls, online stores, and historical exhibits than war zones. But its shape, sound, and purpose still command respect wherever it's seen. If you've $200, you can experience it. Number 8. Kusarigama. The kusarigama wasn't designed to win battles through brute strength. It relied on confusion and precision. Born during Japan's Muromachi period, this weapon paired a handheld sickle with a weighted chain, offering an unusual but effective counter to swordsmen. The wielder would swing the chain to entangle or trip the enemy, creating an opening to strike with the sickle. It wasn't simple. Timing, footwork, and discipline were essential. There were 3 main variations of the kusarigama, each adapted for specific fighting scenarios. It thrived in one-on-one combat, especially in narrow spaces where larger weapons lost their advantage. Though rarely used in full-scale warfare, it became a staple in certain schools of kenjutsu and jujutsu, taught as a method of overcoming traditional blade techniques. Over time, its use waned, shifting from battlefield tool to training instrument and symbol of martial mastery. Today, it's studied more for its tactical depth than its practicality, preserved in dojos and cultural demonstrations, where the delicate balance between entanglement and execution still draws respect. Number 7. Shooting ring. Well, it might look like a decorative band, but the shooting ring was a stealth weapon born in 19th century France. Marketed as Le Petit Protector, it appeared as a gentleman's ring, but nestled in place of a gem was a tiny functional revolver. This wasn't built to start a war, it was designed to give someone just enough of an edge in close quarters. One of the earliest surviving examples came from Scotland, crafted around 1810 by Forsyth and Company. Instead of gunpowder, the ring used mercury fulminate to ignite its miniature projectiles. While the accuracy and range were minimal, it could still deliver a lethal shot at close range. Of course, many buyers were drawn to the novelty and craftsmanship rather than real self-defense. Fashion accessory or tool of desperation, the shooting ring remains one of the most unusual examples of weapon concealment in history. And yes, replicas still exist, sold through niche antique firearms dealers, keeping a tiny bizarre chapter of firearms design alive. Number 6. Urumi. The urumi is one of the rarest and most demanding weapons ever forged. Originating in Kerala, India, it blends sword and whip into a single, fluid instrument. The blade is long, often the length of the wielder's arm span, and thin, sometimes just an inch wide. Forged from flexible steel, it coils easily around the waist when not in use, hidden until needed. But when unleashed, it demands absolute control. It doesn't swing, it flows. The urumi's wielder must keep it in constant motion, creating circular rhythms around their body. With each turn, it creates a barrier both defensive and offensive, forcing multiple opponents to keep their distance. Its effectiveness relies not on brute force, but finesse, timing, and motion. Due to its unpredictable nature, it's typically the final weapon taught in Kalaripayattu, India's ancient martial art. Mastery of the urumi isn't just about strength. It's about becoming one with the weapon. The moment the blade stops moving, it turns from protector to peril. Beauty, danger, and art, all forged into one weapon. Number 5. Meteor hammer. The meteor hammer might look simple at first glance, two weighted ends connected by a rope or chain. But simplicity is deceiving. This Chinese weapon was feared for its range, speed, and adaptability. Known also as the flying hammer or dragon's fist, it came in two types, the double-headed version about 7 to 10 feet long, and the single-headed one heavier and harder to master. Fighters could launch attacks from surprising angles, wrap around weapons, or pull enemies off balance. Some even say it was used in dark alleys where concealment meant survival. Mastering it wasn't easy, it took serious control and timing. One wrong move, and it could just as easily turn against the user. But in skilled hands, it was unmatched in versatility, capable of defending and striking in the same breath. Though not always seen on historical battlefields, its place in martial arts lore remains strong. To this day, it's a symbol of precision, unpredictability, and controlled power in motion. What do you think about this beauty? Number 4. Apache revolver. The Apache revolver was equal parts bizarre and super brutal. Developed in France in the late 19th century, it combined a revolver, brass knuckles, and a folding blade into one chaotic weapon. Its appeal wasn't in its elegance, it was raw practicality for anyone living on society's edge. The revolver itself was nearly useless at range since it lacked a barrel, but at close quarters it could still be lethal. If you ran out of bullets, you could punch with the knuckle guard or slice with the built-in blade. It became a favorite among French gangsters for a short time, though it never gained real traction beyond that circle. The biggest flaw, it had no safety mechanism, so it could misfire in a pocket hardly ideal for a concealed weapon. Still, the Apache revolver carved out a place in history for its wild attempt to fuse multiple combat tools into one handheld device. A mess of a design, but a fascinating artifact of criminal innovation. Number 3. The flail. The flail started on a farm. But in the hands of an angry foot soldier, the flail evolved into something much more brutal. There were two primary versions, a long-handled type with a wooden striking end, and a shorter one featuring a spiked metal ball chained to a grip. Both had one thing in common: unpredictable movement. The flail could swing past shields and parries, making traditional defenses less effective. That flexibility came with a price, though. It was hard to control, especially in cramped battle conditions. Still, its transformation from a peasant's tool to a weapon of rebellion made it iconic, especially during periods of civil unrest in medieval Europe. While its real-life battlefield presence might have been more limited than popular media suggests, its impact as a symbol is undeniable. Over time, versions of the flail inspired weapons in other regions like the nunchaku and three-section staff in Asia. It's raw, wild, and completely unforgettable. Number 2. Protector Palm Pistol. The Protector Palm Pistol offered a compact alternative to traditional handguns, designed for quick action in tight situations. Invented by French designer Jacques Tourbillot in 1882, this small round firearm fit neatly into the palm of the hand and was fired by squeezing the entire mechanism, no trigger required. Its appeal caught the attention of the Minneapolis Firearms Company, which quickly brought it to American markets. To prevent corrosion from constant skin contact, most models were plated in nickel. It used .32 rimfire ammunition, specially produced by Remington. But by the 1920s, when ammo production stopped, the pistol fell out of use. The design was mechanically clever, but the manufacturing process was riddled with flaws from the start. It also proved to be accidentally dangerous. Users often fired it unintentionally while simply adjusting their grip. Despite its shortcomings, it remains a fascinating artifact of personal protection history. Simple in concept, tricky in execution, the Protector Palm Pistol was ahead of its time, and perhaps just a bit too ambitious for its own good. Number 1. Lantern Shield. 15th century Italy wasn't exactly safe after sunset, and the lantern shield was one creative solution. It looked like a regular buckler at first glance, but it was designed to hold a small oil lantern behind a metal screen. That meant a soldier could keep one hand free while illuminating narrow alleys or battlegrounds in the dead of night. The theory was simple: fight in the dark without becoming the target. Some versions even had spiked projections or knuckle guards, turning defense into offense. But practicality came with risks. If the oil leaked or the flame flared, the entire arm could catch fire. Some historians think they were used more by night guards or constables than battlefield soldiers, and the evidence supports that. Even so, the idea was ahead of its time. Whether used to blind enemies or guide allies, it reflected a time when combat didn't pause after dark, and when even a shield needed to multitask. Well, we really hope you found this video interesting. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more amazing content like this. Thanks for hanging with us, and we'll see you soon in the next one.